Touch the leg and welcome to Tibet this week, our weekly news on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration. Let us have a look at the headlines first. His Holiness the Dalai Lama grants audience to Speaker and Deputy Speaker. Sikyong continues visit to Tibetan settlements in South India. Kalon Tharlam Dolma attends closing ceremony of Sea Learning Training Workshop. Office of Tibet, Japan and Washington, D.C. participates in a Tiananmen memorial event. Tibetans in Belgium celebrate His Holiness the Dalai Lama's birthday. Representative Bawa Kelsang Gyaltsen presents Tibet issue in Taipei. Office of Tibet, Moscow participates in a photo exhibition on His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Mongolia. The Tibet Bureau hosts reception for Swiss-Parliamentary group for Tibet. His Holiness the Dalai Lama granted an audience to Speaker Khenpo Sonam Temple and Deputy Speaker Dolma of the 17th Tibetan Parliament in exile on Saturday last week. During the audience, the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker apprised His Holiness of the undertakings of the Tibetan Parliament in exile. His Holiness the Dalai Lama also appeared at the 100 million money recitation at the main temple in Dharamshala on Wednesday this week to grace the prayer ceremony. Since the month of Sagadawa in the Tibetan lunar calendar is regarded auspicious for Tibetan Buddhists, His Holiness has been granting frequent audiences to Tibetans at the main temple. On behalf of the Tibetans and the 17th Tibetan Parliament in exile, Speaker Khenpo Sonam Temple of the Tibetan Parliament in exile extended his heartiest congratulations to Phutila Karpuchi on her re-election as the member of Provincial Parliament of Parkdale High Park, Canada. Sikyong Pembatsring, who is currently on his official visit to Tibetan settlements in South India, received a rousing welcome from the Tibetan community there and paid a visit to Tibetan schools, offices, healthcare centers and monasteries. At the Tibetan settlement in Bailakupi, beside his engagements with Tibetan community, Sikyong met with Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka, Shri Basavaraj Bomaya, and conveyed the greetings on behalf of the Central Tibetan Administration. Sikyong also received an audience with 104th Gandhin Tripa Jizin Lobsang Tinzin Pelsangbo at the latter's residence. In Hunsur and Kolikal, Sikyong visited the monasteries, schools, old-age people's home, Minsikang, healthcare centers, settlement offices and NGOs and interacted with Tibetan residents while visiting each camps. Sikyong addressed the public, highlighting primarily the 16th Kasha's plans and course of action in the coming years and took part in the various inaugurations. Sikyong was invited as the chief guest to honor the Southern Zone Football Tournament finals played between Digi Larsul and Luksam settlements of Bailakupi. Sikyong is currently on his final leg of visit to Mongot Tibetan settlement. Kalon Tharlam Dolma attended the closing ceremony of Social, Emotional and Ethical Learning Workshop for Tibetan elementary teachers organized by the Department of Education CTA on Wednesday this week. In her address, Kalon Tharlam Dolma lauded participants for taking part in the workshop and said that the elementary teachers are the most vital as well as challenging occupation who build a foundation for the education of every student. She further stressed on effective implementation of C-learning. The three-day workshop on the education of the heart and mind for 46 participants representing 17 Tibetan schools in northern India was held at College for Higher Tibetan Studies, Sara, from 6th to 8th June. At an event observed to commemorate the Tiananmen Square massacre incident on Saturday last week in Tokyo, Representative Dr. Arya Tsewan Gyalbo expressed Tibetan people's solidarity with Chinese brothers and sisters in their continued fight for freedom and democracy in China, and said that although the Chinese Communist leadership tried to suppress the voice of democracy 33 years ago, their voices are still alive and vibrant. Representative Arya also talked about Chinese atrocities, human rights violations, suppression of religious freedom, and why the Tibetans are committing self-immolations in Tibet. Sultim Gyatso, the Chinese liaison officer of the Office of Tibet, Washington, D.C., was invited to speak at several commemoration ceremonies that took place both virtually and in person in commemoration of 4th June Tiananmen Square massacre that was organized by overseas Chinese around the world. Sultim attended the virtual commemoration titled the 33rd Global Virtual Commemoration of June 4, 2022, along with Representative Kelsang Gyaltsen from Office of Tibet, Taiwan, and Jiang Tsering, the editor of Shizang Ziyi, on Saturday last week. More than 30 renowned Chinese democracy leaders and scholars around the world joined the event, including student leaders of the 4th June movement like Wang Tan, who witnessed the massacre. Representative Rinzing Cheten Kengkang attended the 88th birthday celebration of His Holiness the Dalai Lama as the chief guest invited by Tibetan Dolma Association in Belgium on Saturday last week. In her opening address, Representative Rinzing Cheten said that His Holiness the Dalai Lama is a preeminent leader of Tibet whose lifelong contributions to the welfare of the Tibetan community, especially during the Tibet's challenging time, are unparalleled. Hence, she urged everyone to unitedly pour their efforts into resolving Tibet's issue, bearing the benevolence of His Holiness in mind. At Taipei International Book Exhibition, Representative Bawa Kelsang Gyaltsen introduced Beijing's restrictions and regulations on publishing books on Tibet in Chinese language. He further extended his gratitude to Taiwan for granting permission to publish Chinese books on Tibet's issue. Representative also acquainted the spectators with displayed books about His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Tibet's history, religion and culture, Tibetan education and environment, relations between Tibet and China, and other books written by Tibetans, Taiwanese, and Chinese. Kangzhong Publication under the Office of Tibet, Taiwan participated in the Taipei International Book Exhibition, which resumed after 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic. A photo exhibition was opened to commemorate the Buddhist holy month of Vesak and His Holiness the Dalai Lama's birthday at Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. Representative Telo Tulku Rinpoche opened the occasion by explaining His Holiness the Dalai Lama's 4 main commitments. Representative Telo Tulku Rinpoche also remarked that although many Mongolians revered His Holiness the Dalai Lama as a religious figure, but many are unaware of his contributions in the field of education, science and humanity, and therefore the photo exhibition will enlighten and bring the spectators closer to a better understanding of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The photo exhibition depicts the life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's childhood, the journey of escaping Tibet in 1959, and life after coming into exile. The photo exhibition was organized by Gandhin Thikjening Monastery and Diluva Hutuktu Foundation. The Tibet Bureau in Geneva hosted a reception for the Swiss-Parliamentary Group for Tibet to express gratitude for standing in support of Tibet in the Parliament of Switzerland on Tuesday this week. Representative Chimi Rigzin thanked the members of the Swiss Parliamentary Group for Tibet for giving spotlight on the rapidly deteriorating situation of Tibetan people and holding China into account for its atrocities in Tibet. The co-president of the Swiss Parliamentary Group, Honorable Nicholas Walter, appreciated the Tibet Bureau for organizing the reception and assured the parliamentary group's continued concern for the situation of Tibetans in Tibet and exile. The Parliament of Switzerland commenced its summer session on 30th May and is scheduled to wrap up on 18th June 2022. That is all for today. See you next week. Until then, stay tuned.